Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing today? Noobs 7 Z33. Yo, haven't seen you in forever. How are you doing, my guy? King Maudie, my go, King Maudie. Dude. How are you, man? Good luck, King Maudie. Hey, I know this is a surprise. I don't expect to get any viewers today. I'm just hoping that everyone wants to come in. You can just call me Noobs. Love to hear that, dude. Yeah, King Maudie, man. Good luck, dude. I don't expect anyone to be here today, but yeah, it wasn't planned. It wasn't thought out at all. There's just a few ideas I have, and I had a free afternoon, so I decided to say, hey, I'm gonna come down and say hi to everyone, and I'll be listening for a few. Love to hear it, dude. Honestly, but don't let it distract you, because priorities. You gotta put DM on the map. What are you playing at the Weedy Meta Weekly, Monty? Oh, why do I hear an echo? That's so annoying. Brother Aiden, what's going on, man? Can't wait to see what you've cooked. I don't know. I don't know. Am I showcasing stuff today? I guess I am in some aspect. Well, sorry. Give me a second. As you guys can tell, I'm in a different environment entirely. A lot's changed. I'm trying to make the most out of situations. I don't know how to lift this chair up, so I'm going to be really low, I think. I thought about this before. My hair is all over the place. DM Primite Bisteel. Orchest is running wild, and Bisteels have been helping. Love to hear it, dude. Yeah, DM Primite is the consensus of what I think is the best way to play in the current format, and I'll get into it as well. Oh, speaking of which, I should probably go get my Primite stuff. Brother, yo, finally I could watch a live. So happy. Well, I'm glad you're here, Adrian. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, honestly, there's not really a plan. This is gonna be more of a discussion stream, like I mentioned before. I don't expect any viewers to come into the live stream today, but I think we will try our best to have the best time we can, right? I'm orange. I guess I have to do it though, because oh, you know what I can do? Hold on, give me a second, guys. New setup means new problems, right? I'm gonna look a little orange. I think that's just the consensus. Unless, I don't know, maybe we'll see. That's better for my face, but I don't know if it's better for the field. But hopefully in a bit, my my little icon will be smaller. My webcam will be smaller, so you guys can see more. Yeah, there's a lot I want to talk about, specifically with DM, both current, post support, and Genesis. And I think that will be a ton of fun. I have a lot of ideas and thoughts I want to share with everyone, just to get the ball rolling, and maybe this will come with making me more comfortable being back on camera and stuff, because it's been a long time. And quite frankly, I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry, I'm just organizing my cards while I'm stalling, because that's how we do it. The pinnacle of unprofessionalism. Hey, if you ever wanted something similar to what Loza and I did, would love to. You guys did that podcast and the deck roast, right? Dude, I'm always down. I'm always down to collab, even like talk DM. If we want to do that and you just turn on a camera, I am more than happy doing that. Miss the lives, man. I miss them too. It's been a wild. It's been a lot. It's been a while. few months. I know. Also, I know YCS Bologna is going on right now, and Meta Weekly, like King Madi is going to be participating in, which means I'm expecting no one to be here, but that's okay because that just means if you're here, you're real ones. I'll reach out sometime. No rush, no pressure. Sweet. Yeah, I'm so down to talk to you. Mitsu Synchro, I think, is a thing now. Dude, Mitsu anything is a thing now. It's so annoying. It's undisputedly the best deck, and I think it's criminal that they didn't at least, like, I don't know, limit Habakuri to 1. I don't even know if limiting Habakuri does anything. It's in round 8. Dude, that's psychotic. Like, that should not be the case. So what do we want to talk about first? Because I have a few ideas for Genesis, I have a few ideas for current, and I have a few ideas for post. Let me see. Let me move into live. Whoa. That's not how this goes. I should probably adjusted this earlier, shouldn't I? Shouldn't have I? Have I? Shouldn't have I? We're big chillin', right? Actually, since we're not even dueling, I don't think this needs to be particularly perfect. If you have time, I would like to hear your ideas on runick DM post DM support. Okay, I'm still happy you mentioned that, Adrian, because I've actually been cooking that, and I'm like, what I mean by that is I have cooked it, but you're not. I don't think a lot of players are gonna like the direction I'm heading in. So, first things first. Let's talk about. Let's go. I guess we could talk about current DM in the TCG. Let me just grab some stuff here. Are we a married man yet? Yes, we are. We are a married man. Yes, we are. Thank you, by the way. All this is junk. So currently in the TCG, if you watched my last video, which did not do well, so I would not be surprised if you didn't watch it, the idea was playing Runick Dark Magician because, and the thought was, we aren't able to keep up with any of the best decks right now. We, like, as DM stands, I don't think Primite is particularly good. I don't think Pure is particularly good. I don't think any version of DM is particularly amazing, which is why I resorted to Runick. And this was more or less a meta call. And the reason why it was a meta call was because I was thinking about how these other decks were being constructed. And what I mean by that is, if you look at every single deck in the game right now, they play a unbelievable amounts of one-ups, which means Runick cards being able to banish those cards off the top of the deck resulted in potentially having Draco Tail lose all 3 of its trap cards, having Yummy lose their field spell, having, you know, Mitsurugi lose Murokumo. Now, obviously, in most cases, some of these decks are able to recur them. However, if you are able to do that, or hit Dormouse, you know, if you hit Dormouse, you can't prep for anything. If you hit Dormouse, you just cry. It is what it is. And the idea was, hey, if I'm able to hit any of, you know, any of those important pieces, my opponent is so far ahead, because now they have to play awkwardly, not only to break my board that is backed by a bunch of runic spells, backed by bestial interactions. On top of that, they have to beat whatever I am making. And the entire premise of this deck revolved around the idea of Chorizo. And the cool thing is, when you pair Chorozo with any Bestials, so Magnuma or Druiswarm, in combination with Rod, right? So you can have a situation where if you open Rod, any runic card, Magnamut, Lubellion, Druiswarm, and any runic card, you are able to go into really, really strong end boards that are essentially littered with cards like Bestial Dispatter, Runic Fountain's already set up, and off you go. And I think that was really good. And the cool thing is a card like Bestial Dispatter allowing us to recycle, for example, a Dark Magician is really interesting. Why is that interesting? Because post support, we are banishing this card to summon our Demod. So by banishing Dark Magician and getting it and getting Demod to do all of the Demod stuff, making a Bestial Dispatter post support to bring back our Dark Magician or whatever spellcaster we banish to extend from there is very, very fun. That's why I love Runic. And then post support, I have a really interesting direction for this, but we will talk about that in a bit. Where do I want to go now? Currently, I think Primite is the highest floored engine. The highest floored engine pre-support, because Primite allows you to get all of your stuff online, including your Dark Magician stuff, while setting up one interruption, which I think is great. The only problem with Primite right now is I don't think it's nearly enough. And that's kind of the reason why I resorted to not play it. And it's the reason why I transitioned into Runic. The problem with Runic is that your main deck is so heavy with these Runic spells that you don't play any hand traps. Which unfortunately means it is a going first or bust deck. Now the cool thing is post side, what you can do is you can remove some of those niche engine requirements, for example, a Mausoleum of White, or terraforming in this example, or some DM cards for something like Forbidden Droplet. And I don't care what end board you're setting up, Droplet backed by a few Runic spells is very good. Alternatively, a really cool interaction what you can do is Runic spells into Draco Tail, for example. Going first, I think Runic has an unbelievable matchup into Draco Tail because so many of our cards check their best cards. What I mean by that, Arthalion activates its effect, freezing, curses, negates. Sick. We're chilling. Flashing Fire can deal with Gurgamel or whatever it's called, or Secretarion, right? Because Secretarion would essentially want to turn off Dragoon, Dark Magician, all that stuff, right? And so these two are immediately fantastic insurance pieces because this completely turns off their recursion, and this deals with their win condition into our deck, which I think is really good. And the cool thing is Runic Destruction goes absolutely mental in the Draco Tail matchup. Why? Is because assuming we are playing Runic and we banish one of the trap cards, right? We assume we banish one of the trap cards. If they set Horn or the other one, or Flame, while missing the other piece, if we Runic Destruction and get rid of Horn, if we go first, right, and we just hold Destruction in hand, the second we know they set Horn, we can just pop it. We can pop it before they can even activate it. They've already wasted resources getting it to their hand, getting it to the field, and it sets them back so far. Additionally, yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I really like Runic into Draco Tail specifically. The problem with Runic into Draco Tail is that going first or going second, there are some issues. Like, it's not impossible to break a board. It really isn't, but it is difficult. The cool thing I love about Runic as well is because we are playing so many, something that I haven't explored yet that I want to explore, because we are playing so many quick plays. For example, Soul Servant Secrets, all these 15 Runic quick plays. In the side deck, we are playing a card like Mask Change 2. I can't find Mask Change 2. Or in the side deck, we are playing cards like Droplet, Mass Change 2, I really want to explore the idea of playing something like Radiant Typhoon in this list, just to give us that extra push. Just to give us an extra push, more draws, potentially draw into more runic cards, and discard runic cards that will then later be shuffled back by Fountain. So I think this list gets much better with Radiant Typhoon. The only problem is I'm not sure with Radiant Typhoon, something needs to be cut and something needs to be bent to fit everything in. I just don't know what that is yet. I haven't really explored pre-support DM in recent memory. There are a lot of things I've been talking about and thinking about post-support and Genesis specifically, because I have been building Genesis lists as well, and I'll get into those in a minute. But yeah, so that's the consensus of pre-support DM. I think runick is the best way to play pre-support DM. The only problem is that it absolutely folds going first, especially because you're letting Yummy, you're letting Draco Tail, you're letting Mitsurugi, all these incredible decks, you're letting them go first, which is a problem. The cool thing is that I think also these runic cards play very well into Vanquish Soul, and I think Vanquish Soul is making a comeback because Vanquish Soul has a pretty decent matchup into Draco Tail. Now Vanquish Soul did get hit drastically, but players like Milano have done unbelievably well at was it the last YCS Pittsburgh, I think it was, did unbelievably well at YCS Pittsburgh because all he played was Draco Tail, I believe, and he did, and that deck is surprisingly very good in the Draco Tail. Additionally, if you open Shifter, you're sick with it, right? But the cool thing is that a lot of these runic cards trade very well into a card like Holy Suit, for example, and K9 especially, because if you just hold, Flashing Fire, and once they go K9 Izuna to summon, right? First of all, we don't have many cards that activate in hand, which is fantastic as well. But if we play a Bestial and they go K9 Izuna, we then activate Flashing Fire to get rid of one of the level 5s that then prevent them from going into the oppressive XYZ, which I think is something to think about as well. And I think that's really, really interesting. The cool thing is, I think Radiant Typhoon, what it opens up is a much higher floor for this deck and more consistency. We do lose harder into Droll. Like I said, we're playing Dark Magician. We can't play into everything. We can think about playing into everything. The cool thing is about if we get Drolled, going first especially, we're playing with 6 runic spells in our hand. Like if we drew into Fountain, we're able to play around Droll. I don't know if they have Droll, we might have Fountain. Let's say that. Additionally, what we can do, something that also I was thinking about, was runic trades very well into half boards. And why is that so important? Well, post side, depending if we want to cut the Bestial package, right? Because we don't need to play Chiroza, we don't need to play Dispatter. As cool and cute as those cards are, the thing I love about the Bestial package is how well Regain trades with the runic cards. Regain, because you can chain block Fountain with Regain, or you can chain block Fountain with the Dark Magicians. And so I just want to make sure that my Fountain resolves, so I built multiple engines into this list that can chain block Fountain. And that's the idea there. So if we remove this, the cool thing is that I think will help us drastically going second is if we play something like 6 Charmies. I, of course, don't know where the rest of my Charmies are, but I don't own Meows either. I only own Fua and Perulia, if I can find Perulia. Oh, that's incredibly annoying. I don't know where my Perulias are. Could it be here? Aha! I don't know where my third one is. My third one's somewhere. But anyways, we can play something like 6 Charmies in the main. And hey, Torch. Hey, oh, I didn't catch up with chat at all. Marine Williams. Hey, how's it going? What did I miss? I just started, mostly. Yeah, like Noob said. Tactics says we're here, and Torch says OMG Matchy. Hello, my dude. How are you doing, my friend? You couldn't even find it in the last. Wait, what? You couldn't even find it in the call last time? What can I find out? Oh, yeah. When I was looking for it. I can't find any of my cards because everything is all over the place since I moved. But the cool thing is we can go with a Jesse Collin-like strategy. Jesse played... What did Jesse play at the last YCS? Was it Draco Tail? I think he played Draco Tail. And he didn't play... He played hand traps, but he put a really strong emphasis on 6 Charmies. What's your opinion on Yummy DM, being that Souls to level 1? I have a brewing list for Yummy. TCG Yugi. That is a discussion for when I have Yummy cards. But I'm so glad that it's getting traction. I will... Let me get to this point, and then I'm going to talk about post support. And I'll explain why that idea is so good. And the idea that Jesse was talking about was playing 6 Molcharmies. And the reason for Molcharmies is, even though that these are only 6 hand traps, they're very good hand traps in the sense that we can draw into a lot of engine, and our deck is predominantly engine with a bunch of runic cards, DM stuff. The problem is if you draw these going first, it feels really bad, and this is a going first deck. However, the cool thing is what these cards offer is they pose enough of a threat to your opponent. Sorry, give me a second. My throat is... I haven't talked this long in forever. They pose enough of a threat to your opponent to essentially make them stop playing, or at least make them more reluctant to stop playing, ending them on a half board, which means that the runic cards into half boards or the Dark Magician cards into half boards have a significantly easier time. So currently I've been siding in 5 Charmies. I'm going to be siding in 6 Charmies going forward, but I am considering maining these. And that's kind of the consensus I have with the current versions of Dark Magician pre-support. Now, TCG Yugi brought up a good point. What is your opinion on Yummy DM? Well, Dark Magician Yummy is the best way to play Dark Magician post support. My only gripe with Yummy Dark Magician is that I don't think it will survive until post support. The reason why is the most important card in that deck is Herald of the Arclight. And I think that card, not because of how good it is, but because trends in current ban lists indicate that a card like Herald is on the chopping block. It's just designed that way. It's not only a pseudo floodgate, it's not only an interruption, but it's also a very important bridge to the best deck in the game, best engine in the game, which is Mitsurugi. The reason why that deck folds without Herald is because there is no bridge between... So the really, really attractive thing about Yummy DM is everyone was talking about how, Rod and Souls gets us the full Yummy combo, because you go normal summon Rod, activate Souls, link off Rod into Artemis, and that's Yummy combo. And the amazing brain of Gohan Blanco in the Dark Magician Discord messaged me on my honeymoon, and he was like, hey dude, now I know I shouldn't have been talking about Yu-Gi-Oh on my honeymoon, but that's a different conversation. And what he said, he proposed the idea of, yo, Machi, everyone is saying Yummy DM because Rod and Souls can get into full Yummy combo. The problem he brought up, and the problem that I immediately agreed with, was why do we need this to go into an engine that's already hyper consistent? Now remember, Yummy plays 9 cards, more than 9 cards. I think they play like 15 1-card starters that go into the full Yummy combo. The attractive thing that was brought up, and I wish I could link his video in the chat if someone can find it. But his initial theory was the idea and formulating a line that can, because everyone knows that DM can bridge into Yummy. The attractive thing about Yummy DM is that Yummy can bridge into DM, because any Yummy card can get into Herald, and Herald is used as a synchro extender, which can then get into IOC. Now, the interesting thing about that is, I wish I could show the combo, but I just don't have the Yummy cards right now with me. Maybe in the future stream or in a video, if Gohan allows me to use his theories in a video, I'll do this. And the beautiful thing is that one Yummy card can end on Village Dragoon through Yummy combo. Now, the beautiful thing about this is, after some further revisions with myself, Francis, and Gohan, and a few other members in the Dark Magician Discord, Francis and Gohan came up with a line that, with Rod and Souls and any one of those 20 billion one-cut starters, you can keep Herald on board with that line. And what's really attractive about that is that Draco Tail is the best deck. Sorry, I think Yummy is the best deck, but Draco Tail has an unbelievable matchup into Yummy, to the point where they can't, Yummy can't keep up with Draco Tail engine for engine. And that the standard Yummy N board, folds to Draco Tail just engine. And now, we've always said and preached, a lot of my viewers, and rightfully so, when I would fit Branded into a DM list, when I would fit Azamina into a DM list, when I would fit X dot deck into a DM list, it was always, DM makes this deck worse. This is the one scenario where I truly believe that Dark Magician makes Yummy a better deck into its biggest weakness. And what I mean by that is, the applications the Dark Magician cards offer Yummy create an end board that Draco Tail can't beat with engine. Now, there are situations where, your opponent has Nib. There are situations where your opponent has a Charmy and they can draw into Nib. There are situations where, a Draco Tail player plays a suboptimal Draco Tail list and activates Imperm targeting Herald, forcing your Dragoon negate, and then goes something like normal summon Fallen of Abaz. Those are obviously situations in which Draco Tail can beat this Yummy DMN board, but in those situations, Draco Tail's beating the Yummy N board anyways, right? If that makes sense. So the really attractive thing about the Dark Magician cards into Yummy specifically is that the Dark Magician cards, they don't lower the ceiling of Yummy. In fact, they increase the ceiling of Yummy. The Dark Magician cards, what they do is they slightly decrease the ceiling of the Yummy card, decrease the consistency of the Yummy cards. However, we can, if we just open DM cards, it doesn't matter, because we can still go into full Yummy combo, which is why it's really attractive. And post support, this is even better. And that's the premise. That's the premise of Yummy DM post support. And I think, if Herald survives the ban list, as God is my witness, Yummy DM can see a very impressive showcase at a YCS sanction event, or a top regional flight, or not a regional flight, or a high-end regional, because the deck solves what the Dark Magician cards solve what Yummy's biggest weakness is, and that is Draco Tail and the Draco Tail engine. The one slightly less attractive aspect of this is, if you flood your deck with Dark Magician cards, well, then you then run the obviously the deck building practice of not being able to run nearly enough non-engine to combat, say a Mitsurugi or whatever else the case. But to TCG Yugi's point, and to the research that was done by Gohan Blanco, Francis, and a bunch of other really smart players, I do think that Yummy DM is really good. With their permission, what I want to do is, I'm working on getting all the Yummy cards. This isn't a shot at them. This is not a shot at them, because he even though Gohan has made a video, the video hasn't done nearly as well as I wanted to. and the reason why I'm upset about it is because it's such a brilliant idea and it doesn't get the recognition it deserves. So what I want to do is I want to make a video piggybacking off his ideas, to really emphasize why this is such a good idea. eHeroes Forge, this is fire, bro. Thank you. I'm just a messenger of other brilliant minds. Sure, I've obviously, tinkered with the idea as well, and I've provided my consensus, and I've provided my consensus, my ideas and my thoughts into that theory as well. So I'd like to say I had some help, but obviously they did more of the heavy lifting, right? So I'm really grateful of that. Are you gonna play him in? Are you gonna play him for royalties? I think royalties should go to I think royalties go to the guy who has the best bigger numbers, which is not me right now. People are watching the right channel. Keep doing your thing, King. Thanks, Gohan. But yeah, I think there needs to be a lot more recognition for that theory because it's truly remarkable. So TCG Yugi 8535. That's my opinion on Yummy. I don't think you need to add Primite into that, because I do think that just Yummy Dark Magician does so much already, and it's truly remarkable. Now, someone was mentioning, since we're on the topic of post support, I'll lead off by transitioning what I'm playing currently, which is Runick, into post support. And who was it? Adrian. Yeah, Adrian. My ideas of Runick DM, post support DM. Okay, so the idea post support DM, and you're not gonna like this. I don't think many people will like this, but the really attractive thing about post support DM is we can maximize even more Runick cards. But the way I would envision playing Runick post support DM, would just be playing the as many Runick cards as you could possibly fit, 3 rods, something like 2 soul servants, right? 2 gaze, maybe 1 secrets. I'm not a fan of secrets, but I can see the rationale for playing 1 secrets depending on how flexible our extra deck is. Right? That's our Dark Magician engine. And then what we are playing is we are playing a small Dia Bellstar package. And this is now Dark Magician in our deck. Because we play 1 Dia Bellstar, 3 Wanted. We could play 1 Deception or 2, it doesn't matter, and 1 Hollow. And this is essentially the real power of post support DM, as you play almost no DM. And I'm not even joking. I think it's not incorrect to think like that. Because how many post support DM, first of all, you're not even seeing Dark Magician on the field anymore. Very rarely. It's either in your graveyard, in your deck, or banished. And the cool thing about this is the Dia Bellstar engine is such a compact engine that ends on an Omni, but Dia Bellstar paired with any spell or by itself gets you into Dark Magician of Destruction. And the cool thing about this list doesn't revolve around the idea of getting to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, right? Like, you can get to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon with this particular list, which I think is really attractive. But for me, the most attractive part about playing Runick Dark Magician post support, now, like I said, like, people aren't gonna like this. I'm almost hesitant to make a video on this because it might be my most disliked video. Calling this a Dark Magician deck is calling this a Dark Magician deck is far-fetched. However, the cool thing is that everything revolves around this card, and the ability of these Dia Bellstar cards paired with a Rod, Soul Servant, Gaze, whatever, and all these Runick spells provide for maximum consistency. And the game plan, like I mentioned previously, it's not summoning Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. It's summoning something else. So in a hypothetical, where if we open, hypothetically, let's say we open two runick spells, right? And Wanted. Or let's just go Diabellstar. In this hypothetical, we still have 3 cards in hand, and remember, we are in most runick lists, we're playing 15 runick spells. In this list, we are playing 17, 18, maybe even 19 runick spells, depending on how many Charmies we want to fit into the list. If we're in this position, hypothetically, we can activate runick spell, right, to summon your Hugin, discarding card X, doesn't matter, and searching your fountain. Okay. We then activate our fountain. Cool. And we then activate Diabellstar, sending your Hugin. Summoning Diabellstar. Diabellstar effect gets you Deception. Gets you Deception, which gets you into... Apologies. Everything here and nothing. Oh, Deception gets you into Hollow. And you can do your Rusiliago stuff. Now, the cool thing about this, I'm going to backtrack just a smidge. If you don't open Diabellstar, the most frustrating thing about Runick before was summoning a monster in the EMZ, and if you don't have a card like Slumber, right? Because Slumber is an easy one. But let's say you open two of the interruptions. You use one to summon your Hugin, and you have another. Now, the worst part about Runick post support was there was no way for you to activate this card without getting rid of your EMZ monster. And the way that we broke that last time was by summoning Chorozo off the back of something like Rod or Souls, which would then fusion summon with the Hugin to free up your EMZ that way. However, now what we do is if we open a card like Deception, right, or like Diabellstar, which also frees the EMZ, but Deception can now tribute the Hugin, freeing up your EMZ to then allow you to summon your Freezing Curses, which then allows you to summon off your Freezing Curses. But we want to generate even more value off this. So assuming Deception tributed our Hugin, and we search our Hallow, Hallow can then send our Deception, which will allow us to summon our copy of Rusiliago. Rusiliago then will search us our copy of Wanted. Wanted can activate. Sorry, and then it doesn't matter what we do here. We can go Hollow Azamina, add back Rusiliago, go one Hollow, chain to Wanted, searching Diabell, right? And then here we end. We have an Omni Negate before we even committed to any of our big plays, because now we have protection off a Fountain. We have a protection for Fountain. We have Diabellstar in hand, which means that we can do, remember at this point we also have 2 other cards in hand. So we can discard anything, summon Diabellstar. We could set another Deception from our deck. For the purpose of this, I'm just setting this Deception. Actually, no, I'll find a real Deception. It's fine. We'll set our Deception. And then here, we can banish our Diabell. Sorry, everything's such a mess. Banish our Diabell to summon Dark Magician of Destruction. The cool thing about this is now Dark Magician of Destruction can grab us Rod, normal summon your Rod, grab us Gaze. And now, like I mentioned previously, is we're not building a board that wants to set up Dragoon, even though Dragoon's really good. But the problem with Dragoon is that you're discarding cards that you potentially want in your hand. If you, for example, have 3 runic spells and your opponent forces a Dragoon negate, you're sending one of those runic spells to the graveyard. The cool thing about that is that there is some insurance that Runick Fountain is able to recycle one of those runic spells. In the case that you're not able to, losing an interruption like potentially a Freezing Curses or a Destruction or a Flashing Fire because of a Dragoon negate really, really sucks. So Sylvia substituting for Dragoon is really, really interesting. The cool thing here is we can go into a link play or whatever. we can activate Gaze, shuffling back our Dark Magician of Destruction for, I think, the most appealing monster in a runic list. And I'll get into this card when we talk about Genesis, if we get there, the Dark Magicians. The reason why I love Dark Magicians so much in this list is we can essentially chain block everything with the Dark Magicians. Having something, what does your non-engine look like, keeping the deck count at 40? So in a list like this post support, you're playing just 6 Charmies. You're playing 6 Charmies, and that's it. Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, in a list like this, you're playing 6 Charmies. Now the cool thing is now you have a free EMZ. You can then go Runic Freezing Curses to summon whatever other runic card you want. Let's assume that we are summoning, I don't know. What's something interesting we can do here? There's nothing really interesting we could do here. We'll just summon another Hugin. I guess it doesn't matter. Hugin, and now we can go Chainlink 1 Fountain, targeting 2 runic spells. Chainlink 2 the Dark Magicians to chain block the Fountain, which is our 3rd draw. Chainlink 3 Hugin, discarding a card, grabbing another Fountain. And off this, right, this is just Deception. This is Deception and 2 runic spells. And just off this, we are drawing 3 cards in hand with another Fountain that we can then activate on top of our current Fountain to draw even more cards if we want. And here, additionally, we can just link these 2 off into something like an SP, IP. Like if we are playing, what we can do is, we can go into IP. And very similar to what we had previously is off the back of Gaze, Dark Magician is going to be banished. Well, something we can do on our opponent's turn is activate Runic Spell, Chain Block Fountain, Chain Block Fountain with the Dark Magician to draw 1, IP effect, linking these 2 off into a Selene reviving the Dark Magicians, so that when we activate another runic card, it draws again. And this one is not being banished off Gaze in the end phase, all while being insulated by a negate off Sylvia. That can be recycled and can be active. It can be made on our follow-up. And that's the concept of Runic Dark Magician post support. How will I build it? I'm not particularly sure yet. What I do know is that I think as far as the DM engine goes, it goes 3 rod or 2 rod, the quick place, and then your standard wanted package. And I think that's all you need. And call it a Dark Magician deck. Don't call it a Dark Magician deck. The best card and the most important card in the deck is the Dark Magicians. And then the entire deck revolves around the Dark Magicians and how it insulates Fountain. And you're essentially playing runic control by doing a bunch of chain blocks, banishing cards off the top of your deck, potentially important one-ofs off your opponent's deck, right? That's all being insulated by a free Sylvia that you get off the back of your new Dark Magician, which is Diabell Star. So that's the concept. And it's something that does need a little more testing. And I think the most important part of this specific list is going to be deck building. And it's going to be how to build this deck correctly so that it works the way it's supposed to work. And I think ratios are going to be very, very important. I know Gohan and I feel like I mention this guy every 5 minutes because this idea is something that we crafted together. And we've been piggybacking ideas off each other, and we both agree that deck building for this specific list and this specific concept is going to be unbelievably important, because without a good deck list, you lose certain aspects of how the deck's supposed to function. For example, if you load up on too many non-engine or too many engine pieces that aren't runic cards, you're drawing dead cards off Fountain. And the point is you want to remove all the engine pieces from your deck the turn you're building your board, so that your deck is only your remaining 20 runic cards. And that way you are constantly drawing into your runic cards, constantly having more and more interruptions, decking your opponent out while establishing insurance for making sure these cards resolve. And that's That's the premise. That's the concept. Can you guys give me 1 minute, please? I will be right back. Literally 35 seconds. I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm apologizing. Yeah. There's just so much stuff going around in the house, and I'm all over the place. I'm also a little sick. Hi, Sensei. Love your videos. Thank you. But I'm no Sensei. I'm still learning, just like everyone else. Dude, take your time. Don't worry. Dude, I just sprinted. I sprinted for you. Now go buy a playmat. I'm joking. Yeah. So that's the that's the idea of runick DM post support, and I think it's pretty awesome. People aren't gonna like it. I know people aren't gonna like it, but sometimes you can't please everyone, and sometimes, you know, you get laughed at innovation, despite it being a good idea. Now, let's talk about post-support DM, because I know that's probably the most fun topic right now. And as we're in this Dark Magician of Destruction waiting room, so many brilliant ideas have been thought of. I am a huge fan of Azamina DM. I know a lot of players are playing with Runick right now, and with Yummy DM, Primite, Shining Sarcophagus. All of those are really, really awesome ideas. It's just one of those things where not many players are experimenting with Azamina DM, so I feel like I should. And the reason for that is I think many brains thinking about different decks and different archetypes can only be good, right? If we have multiple brains working on multiple different avenues to play, that's good. I know, there are really amazing players working on Yummy DM right now. So while they are theory crafting Yummy DM and making it the best it could possibly be, I'm going to find holes and potentially new lines with cards like Azamina, the same way some people are playing with Runick and some people are playing with Shining Sarcophagus. Now, why do I like Azamina so much in Dark Magician? Well, like I mentioned, the Runick version is Diabellstar, gets you into your Dark Magician engine. The problem that a lot of players had was that Dark Magician can't get into Azamina. Well, because of our beautiful mind of our friend Torch in chat right now, we are able to get there. Now, Torch's line is very, very good for a multitude of reasons. And I took his idea and inspiration, and I built other layers to this line that I think haven't really been explored, that I think can be explored further. Because I think the Torch's line to bridge Azamina and Dark Magician is truly remarkable as well. I just think that it could be built upon. That's all. And so the idea his line essentially is you start off with Rod and Souls, or Rod and Illusion of Chaos, or Souls and Illusion of Chaos. It doesn't matter in this case. The idea is you're starting off by activating Magician Souls. Magician Souls will send your Diabellstar to the graveyard, summoning your Magician Souls. You then normal summon Magician's Rod, Rod effect. Here you can get, I'm just going to remove all the non-engine, doesn't matter. Here you can get greedy if you want, or you can just streamline and go straight into gaze, but we'll go greedy just to maximize, the hand. And here we can go link off Rod into your first copy of Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Spirit with Eyes of Blue's effect allows you to search for Mausoleum of White, which you will activate, sending Dark Magician to the graveyard. Sorry for the glare. Apologies for the glare. Here, Magician's Souls will now send Mausoleum of White, chaining Soul Servant to stack your copy of Gaze of Timaeus. And here, I'll draw after everything is said and done, right? But yeah, it's fine. I'll just draw after. I'll draw all the blanks after. We can now link off Magician Souls to summon your Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Here, you will now link off your Spirit in Spirit into your copy of Hieratic Seals. Now, this is the first level of Nibiru insurance. If we get nibbed, Seals is insurance off nib because it ends on another body on board, and we haven't really invested too much else into this deck. So right now we have every single piece needed to get into Dark Magician of Destruction and full Azamina combo while being insulated from nib. So this plays around nib very, very well. This does lose to Droll and Lockbird. However, the idea that we have 3 other cards in hand right now, so we have a 4-card hand with gaze. With gaze is something pretty awesome. Apologies. Sorry, my throat is killing me. Once we're at this stage, we can activate Gaze of Timaeus. Yeah, but so do 90% of our lines. Yeah, for sure. Zero, me days. Glad to see you back, King. Nice to be back, dude. Thank you for the support. We can activate Gaze of Timaeus, targeting our Dark Magician, to putting it back into our deck. To summon, in my opinion, the best extra deck monster Dark Magician has post-support, Master of Chaos. This card is so stupid. It's unreal how good this card is. I was like, back in the day, there are a lot of players that weren't a fan of this card because it was far too niche and it was only seen as a board breaking card. But this card is genuinely so stupid. It's so good. Activate Master of Chaos, and here is the bridge. We revive Diabellstar, and now Diabellstar effect. Diabellstar can now set our Deception. If I could find our Deception, I think our Deception's in our runick pile, potentially. Yeah. Can now set our Deception. We can activate Deception, and now we can go one of 2 ways. Here, here if our rest of our hand can't play through nib, then it's kind of chalked. Then I probably don't do this. But if your hand can play through nib, then you can do some really, really funny lines. We'll banish Diabellstar now, and we will summon our Dark Magician of Destruction. Dark Magician of Destruction's effect will allow us to search for one of Secrets of Dark Magic or another copy of Gaze of Timaeus. I probably wouldn't search the one in deck. I would probably search something like Soul Servant, because Soul Servant allows us to get a draw next turn as well. So one of these 2 cards, right? Depending on which direction you want to go into. If we want to go into Secrets, this line is really, really cool. But if we don't, then we can just get another Gaze here and proceed to pop off that way. I'm going to put these 2 cards here. just to showcase that it's one or the other. All right. Here we can keep seals on the board as a form of interruption on our opponent's turn. It contributes itself to then summon Druiswarm. But if we are playing a graveyard heavy deck, for example, Mitsurugi, where a card like Murakumo is in the graveyard that we really, really want to deal with, Deception can tribute our seals, okay, to search our Hallowed Azamina. Now, seals can activate its effect, summoning our Bestial Magnamut, activating Bestial Magnamut's effect, which will get us Druiswarm in the end phase. And why is this so good? Is that it guarantees a Bestial into our opponent's board. If our opponent's, like, for example, on Mitsurugi, we know he's on Mitsurugi, or whatever. If he's in a Dark Magician Mirror match, getting another Bestial as a form of interruption is really, really effective. So if we are going down this line, I think a card like Secrets can be very interesting, right? Because we can just keep the Dark Magician on the field and then go into Secrets off Druiswarm to trade 2 for 1. However, I'm not that big of a fan of Secrets. So what I'm going to do is I will probably search Soul Servant in this time, and Bestial Magnamut is activating an effect, so we don't get our search until the end phase, right? So Deception tributed seals. We can then go activate Hallowed Azamina, sending Deception, summoning our copy, our monster. Where is it? Summoning Rusiliago. Rusiliago's effect searches our wanted, right? And now we can go into a bunch of different lines. If we want, so there's 2 things we can do. We can link 3 right away into a Selene. And then Selene will activate its effect to revive a copy like Magician Souls. Here, we can then go into Topologic Bomber Dragon if we want to do this. We don't have to do this. And the cool thing about Topologic, the reason why I'm proposing this idea is if we go down, I made a video about this a long time ago. If we go down a line where we are going into Gaze of Timaeus to summon Red Eyes Dark Dragoon in a zone Topologic Bomber Dragon points to, Topologic Bomber Dragon nukes the board, which means Master of Chaos now gets destroyed, and we get any form of spell cards in our graveyard for follow-up. So we can get another Gaze for follow-up, we can get Wanted for follow-up, it doesn't really matter. So that's the premise of wanting to keep Master of Chaos with Topologic Bomber Dragon on the board. If we don't want to do that, then we can just go into, what do we have on board? Selene's in there. We had Souls, Rusiliago, and Magnamut, right? No, we didn't have Souls. Souls got revived off Selene. So if this is our end board, we can just go into something as simple as linking those 2 off into something like IP Masquerena, right? And here, what we can do is we can again go Hollow Effect, targeting your Rusiliago to shuffle it back. Go Hollow Wanted, search our Diabellstar, summon Sylvia for a negate, and now we can draw a bunch of cards. Here we can go Soul Servant effect to banish banish itself to draw 1. We can chain Soul Servant, stacking our Gaze to get that second Gaze in rotation. And then our Soul Servant's now in grave, right? For an extra draw next turn. Keep in mind, Bellstar was never summoned by its effect this turn. I'm confused. I don't think that matters. Oh, if I want to summon herself back. Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah, you can, but I'd rather keep her for follow-up. And there's another cool line that you can do with this. And then here we go wanted effect, shuffling back deception to draw a blank, right? So that's off Rod and Souls, which means after all of this, we still have 5 cards in hand, right? And then in the end phase, we get Druisworm. Yeah, that's what I got that. And we can set our Gaze of Timaeus. So now we have a graveyard interruption. So we have a negate, graveyard interruption, whatever the case. Here, if we want, we can go down the line when we summon Dragoon, use Dragoon and IP into Selene, and then IP and Selene, and revive our Dragoon if we want to do that. However, a really cool line that you can do, assuming we go Sylvia effect to negate and destroy, whatever. Here we can, if our opponent doesn't have a graveyard interruption, we can go something like Bestial Druisworm, targeting any card of our own. If we want, we could target a spirit, doesn't matter. Summoning Druisworm. If our opponent has a dark or light monster, for example, Blue Eyes, he's targeting it off True Light to summon it back. We can Druisworm the Blue Eyes. It doesn't matter. In this example, we can go IP effect, linking those off into Topologic Bomber Dragon. Now Druisworm triggers, dealing with a monster on the board. So sick, right? And now the cool thing is we can go Gaze. So we've already dealt with one monster. At any point we can Gaze, targeting Dark Magician of Destruction, summoning Red Eyes Dark Dragoon under Topologic Bomber Dragon zone, nuking the board, which means Master of Chaos gets nuked. Dragoon stays because it can't be destroyed by card effect. Master of Chaos now triggers, allowing us to add back a Gaze of Timaeus for follow-up, right? And another cool thing we can do, which is awesome, is if our Dragoon negates, we can discard Diabellstar, right? Diabellstar effect, tributing our Dragoon, summoning Diabellstar to nuke the board again. Diabellstar then sets a wanted for even more follow-up. And remember, throughout all of this, we haven't utilized Selene, which means we probably have a line that gets us to Selene. Let me get to that comment in a bit. Yeah, and then so Selene hasn't been used, which means that we are able to go into Selene potentially. And we have so much follow-up. We still have 3 cards in hand. We have a Soul Servant that's allowing us to draw another card. So for turn, and then after all of this, if we want, Rod can tribute. If we have another spell, for example, if we have a set Imperm, Rod can tribute Diabell, adding Rod back to hand. If we have an extra spell, but assuming we don't, assuming we just had the Rod and Souls. And this is all off Rod and Souls. We have 2 board wipes, Dragoon negate, Sylvia negate, with follow-up, a loaded graveyard, loaded extra deck. That's Rod and Souls. I don't know what to tell you. I think like that's insane. Obviously there are multiple choke points, but like I mentioned, a lot of the more impactful hand traps that are being seen playing right now, we can play through. Whether it's Nib, Charmies do kind of suck, but the idea of Charmies is you just end on a half board. If you get Charmied, what you can do is you can just end on something like Gaze and Sylvia, right? So I think that's really cool. More importantly, is that a matchy playmat? No, the reason why I don't have a matchy playmat is the cloth mats give me a little bit more room for all my cards. So I'm able it's better for streaming specifically. But at events, I use my matchy playmat, yeah. And yeah, and so that's the premise. And that's why I like Azamina so much, because the biggest problem back then was, Azamina Azamina can link into DM or merge into DM, but DM can't merge into Azamina. With the help of a brilliant mind like Torch, that's no longer the case. And not only are we just bridging, but we're ending on really, really oppressive end boards that with multiple points of interaction. I think that's really important and really cool. Yeah, the cool thing about this as well is we have room for a pretty significant amount of non-engine. So the locked in non-engine that I am playing, I'm playing 3 Ash, 3 Impulse, which I think is one of the craziest hand traps in the game right now, Imperm, and 3 Charmies. Now, if math is mathing, we still have 4 more slots. So something I was experimenting with, I don't know if you saw glimpses of the extra deck, but I was thinking about what is a form of non-engine that allows me to push into boards, while activating a spell card to potentially get into D-Mod. And I settled on Sky Striker. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this engine yet, but the cool thing about this engine is that Engage offers so much pressure to your opponent. It applies a lot of pressure by itself, which I think is something that is severely underlooked. And why this applies so much pressure is if we're in a position where we're going second, and we can go activate engage, searches us our Horner Drones, standard Sky Striker lines, Horner Drones, summon Sky Striker token. Sky Striker token links off into Kagari. Kagari effect to add back Horner Drones, and then your token. Now the cool thing about this is now we have a free body, right? Free card to send off Diabellstar without losing card advantage, which I think is really good. So we have a free card to send off Diabellstar. If we want, we have a free card to send off Deception, right? And if we are in this case, assuming we have Diabellstar, you're bluffing into Yummy as well. Yeah, you're bluffing into Yummy, which is really strong. So assuming we're in this position, Diabellstar can now be negated, but it doesn't matter because we've already activated our spell card. So we can go into D-Mod, and now D-Mod and Kagari can go into something like SP, forcing another interaction. So off one card, well, Diabellstar's one card, right? But like assuming Diabellstar's not a one card. Say we have Rod. Say we normal summon Rod. Off one card and any piece of engine, we are forcing at least 2 to 3 interruptions at minimum, which I think trades very well. And assuming we went second, right? We still have 4 cards in hand. And if that card is, for example, a Souls, even if we weren't able to search off Rod, if we opened a Soul Servant or Souls, we can link off. No, I lied. We don't. Well, I mean, yeah. If we get into SP forces something. If they interact with SP is another interruption, right? Is SP an interruption on both turns? No, it's on both turns. SP is an interruption, freeing up your EMZ. Here you can go Souls into Blue Ice Link 1 into whatever, and pop off from there. So that's one thing. However, I don't know if these cards are as high impact as I would like. So I'm still very skeptical about this package. However, I like it a lot. It's pretty good. It's, it's interesting enough to experiment playing with. Another thing I want to talk about is why we are doing so much emphasis on this package here. Now, this is a lot of investment, right? This is a lot of investment for an extra deck that we see seals very sometimes, sorry. The cool thing about this is if we're playing Bystials in our non-engine, within our non-engine count, we're playing 2 Bystials as well. Sorry. So if we cut these, we have potential room for 4 more cards in our deck, which is really cool. Why I like this so much is because now, post-support, Rod is a 1-card seals. And why is that? Well, we go normal summon Rod. Excuse me. Rod searches as Gaze. Link off Rod into Spirit. Spirit effect. Grabs Mausoleum. Mausoleum targets Spirit. Sends Dark Magician. Activate Gaze. Shuffling back Dark Magician. To summon Dark Magician the Dragon Knight. And then we can link off Dragon Knight and Spirit into Erratic Seals. Now, if we opened, say, Deception with this, right? We still go full combo. We still go into D-Mod. We still go into Gaze. And the beautiful thing about this is this card is now Dark Magician engraved, which means if we open another gaze and we don't have access to Dark Magician, well, this card can be used to, if we, for example, opened a second gaze or a Soul Servant, it doesn't matter, or, you know, Diabellstar that links into Dmod gets us in the gaze, it doesn't matter. We can then go gaze, targeting our Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, to then go into something like Dragoon, which I think is really, really, really cool. Alternatively, because Dark Magician the Dragon Knight was properly fusion summoned, if we open for example, Souls and say Secrets, right? We can go something like Souls, sending Dark Magician or Diabellstar, it doesn't matter, to summon Dark Magician the Dragon Knight. Now, why is this so interesting? Is if we open Secrets, Hieratic Seals can bounce on our opponent's turn, bouncing a card, summoning a card like Druiswarm, and then we just Secrets, fuse them away into Dragoon for two points of field removal and Dragoon on board, which I think is really incredible. And that's why I love this little package. There's just so many interesting applications that are criminally underlooked when it comes to DM post support. Yeah. So post Muerto, Primite Engine and Dark Magician, which means Rod and Secrets becomes 3 interrupts. Yeah, essentially. Rod and Secrets becomes 3 interrupts. Which, when has Rod and Secrets ever been anything? Right? You know what I mean, Torch? Like, that's freaking incredible. Post Muertos, Primite Engine, and Dark Magician will not be needed. So the cool thing about this is that all of this can still be done with Primite. I think Primite is still very much viable post Dark Magician support. Whoops, sorry. Let me take out Blue Eyes real quick. Is that all wait, no, where'd my other Primite stuff? Yeah, and I think Primite is very, very interesting post support as well. I know Loza, I know who else was doing Primite stuff? Was it King Madi? King Madi was doing Primite stuff. There's a bunch of players in the Dark Magician Discord that was utilizing the Primite stuff to very good application post support. The cool thing about Primite is that these cards do something that our deck struggles to do, and it is play around and through draw, right? So the biggest could be a 1-card combo if you play other things too. Like, what do you mean go kick rocks? Like if you play other engine requirements, or like there's a lot of things I like about Primite, and it's the simplicity and the unbelievably high floor these cards offer. I don't think it's incorrect to play Primite post Dark Magician support. In fact, I know I've been working on some ideas with Primite post support. I won't get into them too much because they're far from flushed out. However, there is a lot I like here. It's a recurring engine. Drill Beam is such an unbelievable card. It can set up Dark Magician of Destruction. It sets up your Dark Magician engine. The only problem is, I don't know if it's even clickable actually. Oh, fair enough. My only gripe with Primite is that we can no longer play Magician's Rod. And I think what gives Magician's Rod I'll send Discord link. I'm not able to view it on stream, unfortunately, but I will check it out after. So the problem with Primite in post support especially is I think there's a lot more weight on Magician's Rod itself. Magician's Rod becomes infinitely better with better spell cards. Who would have guessed, right? Look what we did off like Magician's Rod and Secrets, making seals, reviving Dark Magician of Destruction, Dark Magician, the Dragonite, whatever. All those cards, like Magician's Rod, becomes so much better, and having the Primite engine turns Rod off, which means that now Dark Magician of Destruction is our Rod. And I think what it does is, the beautiful thing about post support DM is that Magician Rod takes unbelievable amounts of pressure off Dark Magician of Destruction and vice versa. Whereas with Primite, there is so much weight put on Dark Magician of Destruction to do both jobs of Rod and Dark Magician of Destruction, if that makes sense. The cool thing is Primite takes huge weight off a card like Magician's Souls, which means we don't need a card like Magician's Souls anymore, which is really interesting. I just wish there was a way to play this with Magician's Rod that wasn't Miasma, because I'm not a big fan of Miasma if you're playing anything but Shining Sarcophagus specifically, or Chaos Max Locks. But I've been known to not be a fan of Chaos Max locking players anyways, only because I think it's a really cool combo. I just don't think it's a very good combo when you present it in context of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And how modern Yu-Gi-Oh! is approached and played at the high level. So Primite I like a lot. There's just a few too many concerns I have with Primite that I think can be explored and can be worked around, which I like. I like the potential of it. I love the high floor. I'm just not sure if it's going to be my preferred method of playing post support DM. In my opinion, Chaos Max Locks are a gimmick. It's not even that they're a gimmick, because they're a really strong win condition. My only concern with Chaos Max Locks, for example, is in context of the current format. You're in the middle of doing a Chaos Max Lock and your opponent goes 5 mana effect. What are you doing? You're dead. Or you're in the middle of doing your Chaos Max Lock and your opponent goes K9 Izuna. You're dead. What are you doing? Like, there's too many variables that, you know, prevent Chaos Max from being a viable strategy. For example, you could be doing your Chaos Max Lock and your opponent goes, cool, what can you say about Shining Stark? I'll get into Shining Stark in a minute. And your opponent goes, cool, activate K9 Izuna, activate my K9 cards. I'll play on your turn before you can even lock me out. I'll set up a half board, and that half board is gonna be good enough to beat you. Because when I pass back to you, right, you're gonna have Chaos Max and nothing else. Because my K9 cards checked every other card you had before your Chaos Max lock, if you even got the Chaos Max. My K9 cards, my Holly Sue, my Draco Tail, 5 mana, checked all your engine pieces, and now I played on your turn without you even knowing. You don't play Village anymore. I'll get into that too. I checked all your pieces, and now, you know, your Chaos Max Lock does nothing. I could pass back to you. If you Chaos Max Lock me and I'm playing Draco Tail and I played on your turn, or if I played K9 Crystron or any version of K9, if I played Holly Sue, I'll let you Chaos Max me. I'll end on a half board. I'll pass back to you, and I'll play on your third turn anyways. And that's the problem. You don't play Village anymore. So I do play Village, except I play Village in the side deck. And the side deck, so it all depends. If I cut Sky Striker, I might just like have like maybe make another cut and just play Chorozo and AFD in the main. But in the side, I don't think I have it here. Hopefully I do. My side deck looks so chalked. In the side deck, this is the package. it's when you're playing on a simulator, it's fine, but playing in real life, it's super gimmicky to the point where I want to make all my sleeves white so I don't have to go through this. But this is this little side deck package for going first. Hello, Machi. Hey, how's it going, Felipe? Yeah, and this is my little package for going first. Because like I said, ending on Dragoon Sylvia Village is mega oppressive. And you're not losing many games when you have that board. Like, your opponent needs to open really cracked to play through that. So having this in the side deck as an option, I think is really strong. And the problem I don't like it going first is that Chorozo and AFD, they eliminate some of the utility that we have for breaking boards in terms of like Master of Chaos. You know, Hieratic Seals can also be somewhat of a board breaker if paired with Deception. Cards like Topologic Bomber Dragon can also push into boards. Master of Chaos, Dragoon, etc. SP. So we have so many utility cards that can push into boards. The problem is that when we start removing them for this village package, we significantly handicap our abilities for playing second. Alternatively, because we play Impulse, AFD is completely dead going second. So going first, you know, game one, I think our deck does enough, like I just showcased, in ending on Topologic and ending on like 2 or 3 board wipes. And when we go into game two, our opponent goes first, assuming we lose game 2, because it happens. Game 3, siding these in and catching our opponent off guard with Village, that's enough to win the game. Because our opponent will more than likely be siding in a lot of board breakers or whatever the case is, especially after seeing our first turn board. I would probably even go like AFD, Chorozo, side in 3 villages to guarantee that I see it, right? So I could either combo into it or draw into it. And if I draw into it, I'm sick with it. So like the side deck would look like something like this, right? It would be AFD, Chorozo, 3 copies of Village, and something that I've been experimenting with that I love. Now this sucks because it demands so much extra deck tinkering, but something that I've been loving because of how strong it can be. I also want to talk about this, but I don't know if I'm gonna have enough time. Brand the DM is back, ladies and gentlemen. Shoot, I don't know where is it? I just had it in my hand. That's so annoying. We play 1 of this. Oh my gosh. Can I not actually find it? Oh. And 3 mass change. This is kind of a gimmick, but like this is the start of an extra deck for me. So this is 9 cards, and then I would play the remaining of the extra deck would probably be like Dark Ruler No More, Lightning Storm, going second cards, maybe even Solemn Strike. I think maybe, I don't know, or evenly. Mass Change 2 is kind of bonkers, especially in a list like this. Ending on Dragoon Sylvia, and you just slap a Mass Change on the board. Mass Change checks Yummy Mitsurugi, it checks Draco Tail. It's very strong. So I really enjoy Mass Change. I do love village combos, even if it's sad. Yu-Gi-Oh has become a game where you don't let your opponent play. That is another conversation. Cool side. Yeah, it's not even that. It's like, I don't like making village lines either. My only issue is that Dark Magician is so underpowered that we need to rely on a card like Village to win games. And that's kind of the underlying issue, right? We need to play Village to push this deck over the top, because otherwise we can do so much ending on Dragoon Sylvia hyper consistently, but even like sometimes Dragoon Sylvia or double Dragoon or whatever the case is, and 2 hand traps sometimes isn't even enough these days. So playing a card like Village turns off a third of a card pool for your opponent and puts you in a very commanding position. So as you see, it's a very floodgatey side deck. And then here, yeah, the other spots will be just flex spots. But like, I think these are relatively mandatory. The 2 blanks are for other copies of Secret Village for those who just joined. Now, Shining Sarcophagus is something that I really, really like. Oh, my back. I'll probably wrap this up soon. It's my first time back. Super nice hanging out with everyone, though. How long are we going for? Almost an hour and a half. That's cool. Shining Sarc best deck. Dark Magician Tactics knows. So how would I build Shining Sarcophagus? Currently, in the current format, I think playing Shining Sarcophagus with a bunch of gimmicks is incorrect. And what I mean by that is playing Shining Sarcophagus with, you know, Kashtira. Well, the Kashtira list is kind of cool. But like with Branded or other variations of Shining Sarcophagus, I think they're very gimmicky. I think what Shining Sarcophagus does very well is it allows you to not have to use your graveyard. So the beautiful thing about Shining Sarcophagus, in my opinion, is you can play a card like Dimension Shifter or Dimensional Fisher. And if you start playing cards like that to flood out your opponent from the graveyard, it gives you such a boost when into a lot of games. So my Shining Sarcophagus list is as followed. I play 3 copies of, apologies for this, super scuffed. 3 copies of Dark Magician Girl. 3 copies of our favorite Gadget Trio. 2 copies of Gandora. I might cut it down to 1. I don't know if I like 2 Gandoras. 2 Dark Magicians and 1 Silent Magician 0. Right? That's the monster count. Okay. Bam. I'm a little more orange, but it's fine. Yeah. So that's the monster count. Feel like Shining Sarc is missing 2 cards that boost the deck more. I'll tell you what those 2 cards are because they're coming. 3 copies of Shining Sarcophagus. 3 copies of Future Silence. 2 copies of Turn Silence. 1 copy of Ties That Bind. This card is so underrated. Ties That Bind is crazy. And then we play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. And now, that's it for engine, right? And now, oh no, I lied. There's 2 more engine pieces. We are playing, the last 2 engine slots are 1 copy of Illusion of Chaos and 1 copy of Magician Souls. And now the rest of this deck is strictly non-engine. 2 important pieces of non-engine is Called by the Grave and Dimensional Shifter. That's it for the Shining Sarc list, and then the rest is just non-engine. You fill it up with whatever non-engine you want. The cool thing is post demod, I would do something like playing 2 copies of Gaze if I want. And then in the extra deck, because we're playing Pot of Extrav, I would just load up on Dark Magician of Destructions, Dragoons, Master of Chaoses, and then you can play like a robust link package with IP, Selene, etc., etc., etc. if you want. But like these 3 are very, very important. Let me put them up here. These 3 are very important, so you load up on those, and you play Miasma. I'm not a fan of Miasma, but like it's mandatory in Shining Sarcophagus, because if you open, for example, Magician Souls, and your Gadget Trio gets interrupted or something, you can then go into Miasma. Souls would dump DMG, and it adds back, and it's just another layer of insurance. It's just another layer of, it turns Souls into a pseudo copy of Called by the Grave, which I think is really good. I think we're sleeping on Archfiend's Advent, attack boost to push into boards. I don't disagree. I think you can play it. I'm like, you know me, tactics. I am a guy who likes to cut 100% of the fat from every list I play. I am exclusively playing only what I need. Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of what the idea is of the list. And you're just playing like your loaded extra deck with Dark Magician of Destruction, Dragoon, Master of Chaos, because you then utilize Gandora. I kind of want to play maybe one Gandora as a way to board wipe, because the cool thing about Gandora, I'll tell you what, is if you go into something like Master of Dark Magician of Destruction, right? Go into Gaze or whatever. If you then link off, or you go into Gandora into Master of Chaos for XYZ, these two, into XZs into whatever, or if you link them off into an SP to push into the board or whatever, or IP or whatever, whatever you use these two cards for. If you then have Gandora engrave, you can gaze into Master of Chaos. Master of Chaos revives Gandora, and Gandora then nukes the board. Right? And the cool thing about this is if you XZs, let's say you're under Shifter, right? Oops, sorry. If you activated Shifter and you XZs, right? Gandora going to grave. When you detach under Shifter, Gandora will go to grave, right? And that just means that later on, when Dark Magician of Destruction goes to grave, or whatever the case is, or if you link off the XYZ, right, your opponent's still under Shifter, you can then go into Gaze, have Master of Chaos, summon Gandora back from the graveyard, nuke the board, do your push, and then these two can overlay into another XYZ if you want, while summoning something like Dark Magician of Destruction, a Dark Magician, the whatever Shining Sark one. You can summon Apprentice to get you another Shining Sark. You can summon, my favorite thing to do is summoning Gadget Trio. Gadget Trio searches Ties That Bind, and Ties That Bind searches you or summons another spell negate. And I think like that's really, really fun. I do enjoy that. IOC and Souls. IOC is just to either get Souls as an extender or grab you a missing piece in the form of Dark Magician. And then all of this is just backed by the hyper consistent nature of something like Pot of Extravagance, 3 copies of Future Silence, 3 copies of Shining Sark, 3 copies of Dark Magician, 3 copies of Gadget Trio, etc., etc., etc. So that's how I would approach Shining Sark if I was building a post support, and I wouldn't build it like Shining Sark DM. I would play as Shining Sarcophagus, removing access to the graveyard. Like I said, I believe this is only just over 20 cards. So the cool thing is, maybe a little bit more than 20 cards. I think you have like 15 non-engine slots. So playing something like Charmies, Shifter, then playing 3 copies of Dimensional Fisher going second is really, really strong. Alternatively, if you're really adamant, you can play the Toy Box engine, because a card like Souls and Toy Box, Souls can dump you your Dark Magician, Apprentice Magician, whatever. You do your Toy Box shenanigans, and Toy Tank can then revive Dark Magician Girl, turning on your Shining Sark engine that way. However, if I'm going down that route, I almost want to play Miasma a little more. It's a little more consistent. But yeah, that's how I would do it. Oh, speak of the devil. Yeah, I like how Toy Tank can bring back DMG back. Yeah, exactly that. If you want to go down that route. I don't know if I have any time. I don't know if I have enough time. But I'll just plant the seeds for a future stream. Something that I'm working on right now is the idea of Dark Magician branded making a comeback. Have you tried using Dominus Impulse? Yanu, you missed it. Yes, I am playing Dominus Impulse. This is in my Azamina list. This is my non-engine. We play. Oh, where did my last? I can't find it. Shoot. Oh, here. This is in my Azamina list. My non-engine is Mag Druis, 3 Charmies, 3 impulse because it's the best hand trap in the game right now. 3 ash, 3 imperm, and then I have 4 more flex spots. And I was talking about utilizing Sky Striker as a package, as a way to push into boards, apply pressure that way. But I think throughout some testing, I think we will just play the maybe 4 more hand traps or something like thrust, talents, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, dominance impulse is crazy. I play it. It's the reason. It's a lot of players are playing other lists. I'm dead set on Azamina because I like impulse so much. So that's to answer your question. Quickly before I head off, something I was experimenting with is the idea of branded. However, my original concept didn't come from playing branded. Oh, I can't. Where's the rest of my branded cards? Okay, well, it doesn't matter. I won't go into too depth. My original idea for branded was to play branded without branded fusion. As crazy as that is, I might play it in the list because it's so free. But the concept of this was to play branded without. You helped me top my first locals. Love it. Yeah. So the original concept I have was to play branded DM with no branded fusion, and it was just off the back of something like Nadir Servant and Fallen the Virtuous, because one copy of Nadir Servant with Magician's Rod, or one copy of Nadir Servant with Magician's Rod goes crazy. But that's a sweet sneak peek. I'll share that in a future video or a future live stream. But branded DM is making a comeback. Mark my words. It's probably what I'm going to be experimenting with the most pre-support until at least February. Anyways, that's it for the live stream. Let's wrap it up. I just want to thank everyone for coming out and watching. I know I will also give a try with branded DM when my cards arrive. Love to hear it. Send me a message if you cook something cool. Thank you so much for watching. I know this live stream was a surprise. We obviously didn't get too many viewers, but those who were here and hung out throughout most of it, or if you just joined for a minute, from the bottom of my heart, I love you so much. Thank you so much. You guys are truly incredible. Thanks again for hanging out. Congrats on the happy marriage. Appreciate it, dude. Much love. And yeah, hopefully you'll see more of me in the near future. So for now, thank you so much. Have yourselves an amazing evening. And yeah, go enjoy YCS Bologna.